I can speak hours about this. I can speak hours about how things like social media, things like the digital age are changing radically. Everything are changing.
In terms of the relationship and communication between parents and children,
Yes,
I think
course.
a lot of this is changing, and you're right at the helm of this, so it's very
I want to
interesting.
give an example, and my wife is here, and this was, she was, one day, Salim, who's in the middle, who's now 10, he was, I think, 7, and you know, kids are always asking the question about, you know, what's this river, and you don't never heard about who's what's the longest river or the capital of a country that you never probably heard of these new things. So very embarrassing thing. And he was nagging after his mom, and his mom had things to do, and all of a sudden, and I realized it, and I heard him said, but Mom, why I'm asking you, like, you know, I'm discovering that I will just Google it. At that moment, I believe this is changing the scheme of knowledge, because, you know, the scheme of knowledge, the pattern of knowledge, we learn from our parents, then we learn from the teacher at school, then we learn from, you know, we learn from mentors, we learn from the professor at the university, and authority is built on that. So not only this is changing the paradigm, and this is a paradigm shift on the schemes of knowledge. This is the first time in history of humanity where the younger have more knowledge than the older.
Indeed.
Now, tending to link access to knowledge to wisdom is a different story, because wisdom is what you do or how you drive that.
Yes.
So, but the scheme of authority is as well changing. The entire school, the entire way we teach would be completely revolutionized and changed with what we're seeing on the digital age. And I strongly believe in this. And this is something that I think really, if talking, we need to embrace completely different. It's a mindset.
Now let's move forward in terms of your professional journey, and let's have a quick look at that. You did your degree in electrical engineering, and then you joined France Telecom. And
I joined France Telecom.
And so what were the interesting learnings in that first phase in terms of your first job everybody remembers? What are the formative elements there?
I joined France Telecom Group, again, almost by accident. You know, I'm an engineer by accident, and I joined France Telecom Group, and I stayed with them almost by accident. So that's again, believe it or not, it was about crossing borders, because I was in, you know, the telecom groups. Telecom was about a pipeline. It's about a pipeline. The business of telecom, it's completely different. At the time, was about a pipeline. You put infrastructure, and you send things in this pipeline. You send voice, you send text, telexes, etc. And I existed completely out of the business of the pipeline. I existed in the business of content, databases, etc. at the time where internet didn't exist.
Right.
I'm saying I started with this. So it was, again, explaining this shift, because you know, these people are in the pipeline. They are hardcore engineers, all of them, great engineers.
Yeah.
But it's a complete, and they went into this transformation. So my journey actually taught me that things changing, and to keep, don't try to predict. Mm-hmm. Don't try to predict. We do plans. Specifically now, specifically again when we're talking about kids there is an iterative process of learning, adaptation, rather than, you know, the pre-designed, intelligent design that is happening, and that's fundamental. We don't realize how fundamental this is.
You had a great opportunity when you were with France Telecom, and you joined Mobinil. You
Yes.
were the right man in the right place at the right time. We all have these lucky breaks in our lives, and you basically took the bull by the horn, and you made it extremely successful. What insights do you have in terms of the people, CEOs that are here, to take the bull by the horn when you do get a nice break?
Actually, this was, again...
Third accident?
No, not at all.
Okay,
not at all. And I was stubborn. This is when I said stubborn on the vision, because That is an experience. Let me give you, we were working with France Telecom, we were preparing with experts on business planning, and back in 97, and these guys decided that because you take all the World Bank data, GDP of Egypt, usage, etc., that the penetration rate, I mean basically that the number of users of mobile phones in a country like Egypt, 80 million people, would be after 10 years of business plan, 7 million people.
Right.
Penetration rate of 8% after 10 years. And I said, just look, I looked around me.
Yes.
I looked in a country like Lebanon, and where one day I was just hearing, where there was not really mobiles everywhere, and even in Europe. And I was, standing in the street and somewhere, and next to me there was nothing. I didn't realize that. And a phone rings, and I looked, it was not my phone. This was, I'm talking mid-90s, 96.
And you had the big bricks for phones.
No, and there was this guy who was the shoe shiner, with these little box where you put with little drawers. The phone was ringing, he opened one of the drawers, took a phone and said hello. So how can we make the relation between the ability to pay, the purchasing power of this guy, and then I said, this is something that will become, everywhere. And I came with a vision, and even France Telecom, and even the partner of France Telecom, who become one of the big entrepreneurs in telecom, Mr. Tawiris and Orascom. But you must be joking. I said, a mobile in the hand of everyone. Mm-hmm. That phrase was the turning point for the mobile industry in the Middle East, because I said, I do not believe that mobiles will be only for just few businessmen or just the happy few that can afford it from a point of view. Everyone will have a mobile. Back in 97, in a country like Egypt, that was completely getting out of the box. And that is probably one of the, I would say, most accurate things on which I built an entire vision, and I delivered on that.
It's brilliant because in developing countries, you do not have the infrastructure, so the mobile revolution basically just leapfrogged that, and you reached everybody. Africa is going through exactly that process now. Now, nice segue into, you mentioned Naguib Sawiris, maverick, erratic, wacky, but creative genius, loud, people like
He's a warrior.
He's a warrior, absolutely.
I'm not a warrior. I'm an architect.
Interesting.
People have trends. I mean, all of you, I believe, and sometimes when I look to some people, the way they're warriors. They go there, they want to win the battle.
Yeah.
And sometimes, winning the battle, not having a battle is better than winning the battle, even. Very often. You have architects. I sit and I think, what is the system? You have merchants. Merchants, and I admire them. I'm not a merchant. They will think how much money I'll make more. But this is very noble. This is to be, it's not. And there are, and I think and there are poets,
right,
which is, because they look at the aesthetics. I mean, these are only labels. They have different things they look at. And each of us have a little bit of a dominant and then a second thing, and you can just try the exercise. What are my main drivers in
So you've defined yourself as an architect. Obviously, it comes with a lot of attributes. But before we get to that, just going back to personalities, maverick personalities, like Branson, like Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, and with Naguib Sawiris, is it more difficult and challenging working for a wacky warrior or a stable government environment? How do you play that? Now, you're an architect, but there are different dynamics, and to a lot of people here, they go through these challenges.
Yeah, well, I did not, it was not like I was working directly for Naguib. Naguib was one of the shareholders.
I understand that, but he was
France Telecom was another shareholder. Yeah. And actually, I was, through the role that I got, the mandate, I was in the middle.
Right.
We know that after I left Egypt, they went into courts. So I think that I was doing a good job in keeping some balance.
So you were not United Nations there, you were playing both sides.
No, I think, as well, there is a responsibility when you go, when you say it's all about people. One of the moments is the first General Assembly that we had in Egypt for Mobinil, and that was, you know, you had very good people, people that do not understand anything in telecom, old people that were coming, trusting you, and telling me, we've put a lot of money to buy your shares. A lot of money could be something, but for them, it was
It's relative, of course.
you
yeah.
feel responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so your only work, and this is governance.
Yeah.
You learn about governance, that this is not who owns that. I have a responsibility towards this company, and I became so passionate about it. My daughter, she was young when I started Mobinil, and one day, very innocently, she came and she said, Dad, do you love Mobinil more than me or me more than Mobinil? Imagine this question. I had tears in my eyes because I felt that I must be working too hard and too much and not giving her enough attention.
Yeah. Something that a lot of us go through as an innovation and an entrepreneurship, and there are a lot of entrepreneurs here. Have you ever really failed at anything substantially, and where you were in a position of total despair? You were in an environment where you said, oh my God, how do I get out of this one? And then, more importantly, how did you bounce back?